Shut up and sit down.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah, Batman!
Our bikes love us and we love them back as we ride through the city by the cars like black on the teeth of the town. We just keep on singing. We're unstoppable.
Oh, hell yeah!
G&O, unstoppable kids. Yeah, get your bike and go.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Lee Grand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. One of the most important decisions you will make is to be in a good mood. For every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. So, crank it up and be happy, my friend.
When things are good, when things are hard, we ride together, we don't drive cars, but together we make such beautiful music.
Oh, hell yeah, brother, yeet.
Unstoppable mamas, a G&O, we're unstoppable, unstoppable kids, yeah. Get your bike and go, get your bike and go. Unstoppable papas, pedal and flow.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! You're doing it good, buddy. Great job.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von Turing, and I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance, right here in studio with my friends.
With your friends, and a
Hi,
few
guys.
other friends, too, but we'll get to them in just a moment.
We do have some extra people today.
Sitting next to Lance, Mr. Matt
What's
Legrand.
up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking pretty good. Good to have all of us here, smiling faces and fully connected.
Except Leo.
Finally.
Leo looks funny, but that's okay.
He's
Fully connected.
fully portrait there. So it's all good. It's all good. Hey, we've got the gang from the Cascade Bicycle Club joining us with us on the podcast today, and sitting, well, I guess the bottom left on our little screen here is the executive director of the Cascade Bicycle Club, Lee Lambert. Hey, Lee, how are you doing?
We're doing great.
Good, good. Next to Lee, Paul Tomei. Paul?
Hey, Al. Great. Thanks for having us on, Jake.
Likewise, thank you
Yes.
for coming. And we've also got a couple other members who we'll get into a little bit more, but we've got Leo Stone.
Well, nice to see everybody, and cheers to you.
Cheers to you as well. And Marlene Decker. Marlene, welcome to the podcast.
Drucker?
Drucker. Did I say Decker?
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
Nothing like
the
it,
joke
you're
is that spell check always changes my name to Drunker. So
Oh,
Oh, I like all of them.
thanks, Grandpa.
do any of you guys do the intermittent fasting thing? Just out of curiosity. You ever tried it?
Yeah, in between the hours of
sounds
about
obscene.
10. I do from about 10:30 at night to about 6 in the morning.
There you go. That's what I need to do. I've been doing it for years now, and just some days you feel a little lightheaded, a little loopy. I don't know, and today might
I got
be
some
one of those
gummy
days.
bears back here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
You need a gel.
I think I just-
Mid-podcast gel.
Yeah, I just need to shoot this coffee down my throat and call it a day. We're going to get into some more of the Cascade Bicycle stuff here in just a few, but first, let's run around the table and do a quick backpedal. Lance, you get one thing today, buddy.
I
One.
can't talk about one thing.
I will kill your microphone. One thing.
Oh,
Go.
yeah, just turn them off.
It was a rest week, so I only rode like 12 hours or something like that.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
the funnest ride I did, or the stupidest ride I did a birthday ride with our teammate Ian Gibson in the Columbia River Gorge. We rode from
Ian's birthday?
It was Ian's birthday. He turned 61.
Happy birthday, Ian.
Yes.
61 going on 41.
I know.
Riding like
Right.
he's 31. It's ridiculous how strong he
The
is.
plan was to ride 61 miles out in the Columbia River Gorge from Gresham out to past Multnomah Falls and back.
Oh, that's a great ride.
Yes.
Good choice, Ian.
But the 40-mile-an-hour gusts of wind made it quite
It has been
difficult.
windy.
That day. This was Friday. We did it Friday, and it was a little nuts. We both got blown off our bikes a couple times and hit a patch.
Did you fall hard?
We hit a patch of black ice and both went down. But we were going very slow because of the 20-mile-an-hour headwind
I
at
know,
the
but
moment.
we're old and falling hurts.
We didn't get hurt. Neither of us really got hurt. So,
Yeah, that
was-
sounded brutal. I saw that. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I missed that one.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
It was crazy. We didn't make it 61 miles. We only made like 53 or something like that because it was just too much. But the gorge is beautiful. So,
Yeah, yeah.
that's enough.
Matt, quick battle.
I got
backpedal
outside a
from you.
couple times, which
Good-
is great.
Good for you.
Yes. Climbed a little bit because I was testing that Brighton bike computer. I made a video about that. and then got out and rode just like out towards Vancouver Lake, which is a lot of flat stuff with. Ended up riding with Evan Price, Josh Monda, and David Goodman.
Yep.
And that was the plan. David and I had chatted about I'll just meet him after his workout, and we would ride back together.
Nice.
Really nice day. We have had some good weather.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's it. I'm out. Good. Let's move on.
Hey, Paul, did you do anything cool this last week? Any good rides you get in?
In the winter, when it's snowing, I try to get up to the pass and do some skate skiing or cross
Even
country.
better.
There you go.
Even
Okay.
better.
I know you guys like cross training, so big fan of skate skiing for all your road bike listeners who like to go fast. It's the fast version of cross country skiing.
For our listeners, all of our guests today are more or less in the Seattle, Washington area. Yeah.
Very cool.
No, actually, they're more or less in the Bremerton area.
Yeah.
That's another story.
That's out in the sound.
How about you, Lee? Got anything to report back about this past week?
Oh, I had a great commute in. It was it was a 30-degree day. I have about a 10-mile commute into work.
Oh, wow.
And it starts with a nice little downhill, and on the roads. And then there's a nice trail in Seattle, the Burke-Gilman Trail. It's most of my commute, but it wasn't crowded, and it was just it felt fast, and it was a great way to start the week.
Lee, does that downhill wake you up in the morning?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does, because I got about a mile there, and there's about a mile and a half all downhill, which you pay for on the way home.
Yeah.
Awesome. Marlene, what did you do this past week?
I am just back from bike ride, and I guess thank you for all the technical difficulties, because it gave me a chance to catch my breath coming.
She has a jersey on still, it looks like.
I do. So I knew we were doing this, so I had my STP jersey on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually, along my route, I had forgotten that where I was going, right before I get to my destination, there's a perfect peninsula. We're on the peninsula here. There's a perfect peninsula roller that you can't see the bottom of from where you are. So I kind of on the height and drop right down and then come right back up again the other side, which there are a lot of those around where I live. But I had actually kind of forgotten about that one. I paused for a little bit and let a car pass me and kind of looked to see if I could see where the bottom was.
Leo.
It's a bit rolly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Leo, did you have any good rides this past week, or do anything fun?
Well, let's see. I've been out trail riding on a long-haul trucker, 60-some pounds of bike with 26-inch mountain bike tires. But Sunday, I had to ride over to Seattle, into a first aid class with Cascade. So I took my recumbent because my legs had been feeling pretty good up to that point. And which was interesting, 5 o'clock in the morning, 40 miles an hour, going down Kitsap Hills down to the ferry, then riding home in the rain, but having to wait 2.5 hours at the ferry terminal, and just about got hypothermia out of that. I'm still kind of recovering today.
Oof.
But that's about normal for me. I take it easy.
Cool. Actually, for me personally, I got to ride outside twice this past week, which was kind of nice.
Yes.
One of them was with Lance yesterday, which was just
I was with you both your outside rides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was a fun ride. It was one of those things where you go out to Vancouver Lake and you get a nice little tailwind going out there and this is too easy, and I know on the turnaround this is going to really suck, but we managed to get back just fine. But the ride that was a lot more fun was the gravel night ride that we did.
We did a gravel night ride.
That was a blast.
That was a blast.
Yeah, and I have this new headlight that basically turns nighttime into day.
It was pretty bright.
What company is this?
Oh gosh, I should.
That's okay. You don't have to.
Yeah. Anyway,
does it have a separate battery pack?
Yes,
it does.
Yeah.
4,000 lumens.
Yeah. It was like 5 headlights lined up on the top of his handlebars.
And people in front of you just
nobody went in front of Jay.
Yeah, it's too much. They don't want to get that tan.
No.
The light bronzing is okay.
Yeah.
Especially if your chamois are a little thin, you don't want Jake behind you.
Yeah, I don't want to be behind you if your chamois is a little too thin. But the 4,000 lumens really did quite the number, and it was one of those things where this is really spectacular.
I mean, it's perfect for exactly that.
Yeah,
like
but it's
gravel
also
rides.
very easy to ratchet it down all the way down to 10%, which 4,000 or 400 lumens. It was perfect for riding on the road and not burning people's retinas out of their skulls. So
you can take it on the trails too,
Yeah.
like mountain biking.
Yeah,
It'd be crazy.
Yep, pretty cool. But other than that, it was just another standard week, and we'll call that a wrap on the back pedal. So let's get into some quick news so that we can get to the cool stuff here.
Champ Bailey, top 5.
Is Champ Bailey in the studio today?
Discussion. I mean, I'm not just gonna
No, nothing happened this weekend. Let's just move on. I'm just kidding, Hitchcock. Hey, it is Champ Bailey here. Yes, the Cyclocross World Championships happened this last weekend. There were great races. It was in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Cross Mecca.
The Cross Mecca
Arkansas.
of Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Well known for cyclocross.
But there were really some great stories. I know we had talked a lot about the elite men's race that Wout van Aert and Matthew Vanderpool were not going to be there. And so who did we think might win? Matthew Pidcock.
Yep.
And he actually pulled it off. The race was...
Tom Pidcock?
Tom Pidcock.
Tom Pidcock
Yeah.
from Great Britain.
Come on, Champ Bailey. Your job. You have one
I'm
job
blowing
here.
it. I'm going right off the top of my head. I'm
Yeah,
just
that's
trying to
better.
remember.
It's better that way.
It is. The race was actually really quite interesting. They were together for 3 or 4 laps, and the Belgians were trying to do some team tactics to keep Pidcock out of it.
Yeah.
And which would have been really cool if they could have pulled off, because there was a point where Van Turenhout was out front and Pidcock was in second, and Pidcock was desperately trying to keep Ellie Easterbeat from getting in front of him, because Van Turenhout and Easterbeat are teammates, not just for the Belgians, but also trade team teammates. And if you got 2 teammates ahead of you, the second guy can kind of botch a corner or 2 and let the guy get away. And Pidcock tried very hard not to let the 2 teammates get ahead of him, and he didn't. And then by lap 5, he just hit the afterburners, and he won by 30 seconds. Yeah. It was fantastic. So
Women's
good
race
for him. Women's race also very exciting. Mariana Voss and Lucinda Brand, who were kind of the cream of the crop.
Yep.
They got away. And that was that. However, it was exciting racing. Those 2 stayed together the entire race. Neither of them got away, so they were together the whole way, back and forth, back and forth. They kept trying to drop each other, but it never actually happened. During the last lap, with just a few hundred meters to go, they almost came to a track stand.
Yep. No one wanted to be in first place.
Nobody wanted to be in first, but eventually, you just can't out-sprint Mariana Voss, and she beat Lucinda Brand.
So here's my question that I think is very interesting about cyclocross. We're way more. I mean, I don't want to say this and sound sexist, but we're way more interested in the women's part of the sport. I mean, almost equally to the guys, I would say, right? They're very, very well done. Whereas women's road cycling doesn't have as much of a draw to it.
That's a good point.
And I think it's fantastic that cyclocross has strength on equal sides.
Yeah, there's more coverage for the women's cyclocross than the women's road racing, and I hope that changes in the next few years.
I hope so too, and I think it kind of should or will.
With them doing the Tour de France now with the women's group,
they have the women's tour.
I think that's going to at least put it in the right direction. I think that's going to help us get more notoriety, and you're going to see some big names start to kind of get a little bit more press.
I wish that the stages were on the same courses on the same days, so that it was all part of the same press like it is for cyclocross.
Yeah.
I know that would be logistically a nightmare, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
So there was great races in the U23 races as well, but we want to talk to the Seattle people, so I'm going to bail on that. The funnest parts about watching the races this weekend were Tom Pidcock's finish line celebration.
Yeah. Oh, the Superman?
He did a one-handed Superman.
The fist out?
Yes. He had his stomach on the seat, his feet off the pedal straight back, and one hand up in the air. Kids, don't try this at home. You're going to break your collarbone. So he did that. The other funny thing was there was some dude in overalls.
Oh, yeah.
It's in Arkansas, and there was There was a shot.
No shirt under the overalls.
No shirt under the overalls.
Just
Only one
awkwardly.
hooked up. Had like a moonshiner hat on, and he was just staring at the camera when like all the racers went by. Nobody else around. It was like in a empty. It made me laugh every time I saw it.
Is there a meme yet?
Yeah, probably
coming.
not.
It's
It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's got to be coming. With that, champ out.
Thanks, champ. Appreciate it. Cool. Let's jump into our topic for today, and we're going to talk about the Cascade Bicycle Club. They've got a big event coming up. By show of hands, who has done STP?
All of us.
For those of us that are just listening, everybody here
Everybody here's done
raised
it.
their hand, so that was pretty cool.
Evan Price is the only one. He typically comes on the podcast, and he's the only one who hasn't done it.
Yeah, we told him to stay home. It's like, you're not cool enough. You can't come in today.
So can't even come on today's podcast.
I'm going to just reintroduce Lee Lambert. He is the executive director of the Cascade Bicycle Club. Lee, you guys got just a little club up there, right? Got a couple people that are part of this organization.
Yeah, we're knocking on 10,000 members.
Yeah, just 10,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought we had a big team. Those guys, we're like 1%, maybe 2%. But so how long have you been the executive director of the Cascade Bicycle Club?
Look at the calendar. It looks like about 4.5 months. I started middle of September, so relatively new to this role here, but been engaged with the club since the early 2000s.
Oh, great. So as the executive director of the Cascade Bicycle Club, you have to oversee some pretty big events. Would you say that STP, Seattle to Portland, for those that don't know what STP is, would you say that that is the big premier event that you guys have on the calendar for the year?
That is our premier event for the year, and I would say the premier event for the country. It is a special ride that's community building and goal setting for a lot of folks. People put it on their bucket list to do.
Gotcha. Very cool. And then again, we've got Paul Tolmay. Am I saying that right, Paul?
I like Torme as in
Marissa?
The Velvet Fog.
What's up, Torme?
Yeah, Tolmay. Okay.
Yeah.
So Paul is the media relations manager for the Cascade Bicycle Club, and he does all the blogging as well. How long have you been in that position with the club?
Just 2 years with Cascade. I started right before the pandemic in 2020, and was really excited to join. And then the last 2 years with Cascade, as with many nonprofits, have been a super challenge. But I was excited to join Cascade as a relative newcomer to Seattle that really wanted to engage with the bicycle community and all the advocacy work, as well as education and community outreach. So Cascade's a 52-year-old organization, and it's a big reason that Washington State is perennially voted one of the most bicycle-friendly states in the country. And we're best known for the big events we put on, like Seattle to Portland, or the Kaiser Permanente Seattle to Portland presented by Alaska Airlines. Shout out to the sponsors. But we also do loads of education programming. We have a project called the Pedaling Relief Project, which uses volunteer bicyclists to deliver and help food banks delivering food and essential supplies during the pandemic. Our Major Taylor Project. So there's such a panoply of activities that Cascade gets involved with to really make the Puget Sound region and Washington State a bike-friendly place.
That is awesome. I mean, we benefit from that all the way down here as well.
We do.
So much appreciation there. Okay, and so we've got Marlene, not Drunker, not Ducker, not Marlene Drucker. Sorry about that, Marlene. You are a very active member, and you are the free group ride leader as well as an outrider. So just tell me a little.
I'm one of several hundred free group ride leaders. So
Awesome.
we do. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go. Just tell us a little bit more about like what you like to do for the club and kind of the role that you take within there.
Well, I guess that my first interaction, I'll back up, I'll backpedal a little and say that I remember the first time someone explained to me about what a century ride was, and I looked at him and I honestly said, why on earth would you want to do that? But at some point...
I don't even drive that far.
At some point I decided that I needed to do STP. And there was that newbie thing of like, will I even be able to do this? And I started training with Cascade. I started training with a lot of different groups, but actually I found that free group rides with Cascade were the best way to train for it. And that led me to, you sort of work the cycle of the learn, do, teach. So you learn it, you do it, and you're always learning. But I worked my way up to being a ride leader. I was invited to join the ride leader committee. At the beginning of the pandemic, we had a lot of people who weren't comfortable going out on group rides because there was a lot of uncertainty there. So I stepped up to become a mentor for people who we kind of have a process of how we teach our free group ride leaders to be ride leaders. So I stepped up to mentor new ride leaders. Let's see, I did that first STP, and I brought with my little visual aid here. This was my finisher, so you get a patch here. So this is the last one. Where the heck is the camera?
There you go.
This is the last one that was group health, was still group health, because the next year after that, they were Kaiser Permanente. So where the heck is that camera? There it is. So so I actually found, after training with Cascade in 2016, I actually found that doing it in 2 days was just a party, and it was just fun. And so the next year I had to challenge myself to do it in 1 day, which was, fun in a different way, but also I spent 16 hours on the bike. So there are parts of your body that you had no idea were going to hurt until you stop. And then I decided that I wanted to do these events helping other people doing them. And then that's kind of where I met Leo and made him somehow convinced him. There might have been some beer involved. Somehow convinced him they should let me join the Outrider team. And I have supported as an Outrider twice, and I think maybe when we throw it to Leo, he can explain to you what the Outriders do on Cascade events.
All right. So, Leo, let's get to you here real quick. Collectively, I think it's safe to say that you've probably done more STPs than everybody else here combined. Leo, how many times have you done Seattle to Portland?
I've ridden the CSTP 27 times, which isn't that much compared to some people. Well, I think Jerry Baker did 30-some.
Wow.
He's the late Jerry Baker.
Wow.
Well,
but it's an interest.
I was going to say, you're almost there. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to taking off on Marlene's thread there about her becoming an outrider. We do have a saying in the group that we really don't recruit outriders, but we do recognize them. So we're pretty lucky by getting her. But I should probably explain what exactly an outrider is.
Yeah, I'm confused. Yeah.
But I've got to, unfortunately, I'm going to have to drag you through some history so you can understand what led up to outriders. I did my first STP in 1989. I was pretty impressed with it. One of the biggest memories I had was I didn't know where the finish was, and I was in Portland. And I was so hungry, and I saw a Burgerville, USA. Fond memories of being in Vancouver in high school, eating at Burgerville, USA. So I swung in there, scarfed down to the point where I was almost sick and realized I still have to ride. Then rode the 3 more blocks to the finish line because I didn't know where it was. In 93, though, 1993, I decided I would try a 1 day. And the guy I was going with to ride with as a partner, he was a member of a group within Cascade called the Bozo Patrol. The Bozo Patrol was a group deputized by Cascade to pass out tickets for good rider behavior. And at the end of the ride, you could redeem your ticket for some cheap and tawdry prize like a water bottle or something like that. But it was the thought that counts. The problem was STP was getting a reputation as being kind of Death March 2000 all the way to Portland. You heard sirens the entire way. So we passed out good rider tickets, but realized too is if you see somebody broke down on the side of the road or somebody hurt, you keep on riding by. You have to stop. It's a human thing to do. And besides that, you're riding as Cascade. So the Bozo Patrol went away after about 3 years, I believe. Then I rode as a medical rider for a couple years and didn't quite care for that too much. It was not exactly what I thought we really needed. I wasn't quite sure of what it was yet. Then I rode as a ride referee, started that program, I think around, 2009. I can stand to be corrected on that. I started in the second year. The ride referee program was Cascade again, trying to curb the insanity of STP because it was getting pretty crazy. So we were supposed to model good behavior and ask people to not be bad behavior, which really doesn't work that well. But at the same time, we noticed people were hurt, people were broke down, we're wearing a Cascade jersey, so we're going to stop and help them. But the problem was a referee is someone who enforces the rules of the game, and we don't enforce anything. So what the ride referees folded around 2013-14. There were some issues in the club, but that's resolved. So a bunch of us ex-ride refs kind of brainstormed one winter and said, what do we actually need to have? The idea we came up was with the outrider concept. Now, as I defined what a referee was, someone who enforces the rules. Well, if you look up outrider, you get a person who rides at the edge of the group to provide scouting and protection. And that's essentially what we do. We provide a kind of a triage for medical and mechanical. Something small, a flat, we'll deal with that. A small adjustment, we'll deal with that. Anything else, we're going to bring SAG in the same way with medical. We're simply the first screen on the course for that.
That's why I ride with Jake all the time. So he's my outrider.
Yeah.
Except for he always forgets to bring his bag.
But he forgets to bring his bag.
I got it with me. I'm good.
Well,
I have a friend like
kinda,
that.
Yeah.
We kind of call ourselves the friend you didn't know you had, so I don't know if that applies in this particular instance or not. But we also do a lot on looking for where there is going to be problems. We train on state law because people are invariably going to ask you, what does the law say? So we need to know. We work on traffic control techniques used because we've borrowed heavily from the League of American Cyclists and from Savvy Cycling. I'm a league instructor myself. For ways to control lanes, for ways to keep people out of danger situations like riding next to a truck, at a stop sign, things like this. So we are kind of like a guardian angel, but we do have a couple things kind of peculiar to the group. One is we don't wear numbers because we're not on the ride. Well, you do, but we're not on the ride. We're in the ride. People ride STP for the experience. We are part of the experience, trust me. We also carry, for traffic control, we'll carry a whistle, which we don't like to use. But we do carry a duck call, which we do, because it isn't threatening. People can hear you, and it's hard to get angry with somebody who's blowing a duck call at you, particularly with some old geezer like myself, wearing bicycle clothes, standing out in the middle of the road. But we have a good time, though, and I think Marlene got, 4 or 5 letters of thank you very much in the first year you outride for STP. You did a great job. One of the things that happens to us, and I tell new riders this, is someone is going to walk up to you in a crowd and say, thank you for being an outrider. And the first time it happens to you, it's going to take you aback quite a bit. But what they are saying is thank you to Cascade.
Yeah.
Providing this group of people who will help you get to Portland.
Yep.
Because no one gets left behind.
Gotcha.
That's really cool, guys.
So I got a question for you. You guys have kind of alluded to like some craziness, some crazy things that were happening, and some things that needed to kind of get smoothed out. Give us an example. I'm curious if anybody at this table might be guilty of doing any of these crazy things in the times that we've done it. So I'm curious.
STP is not a race. However, there are some people on the road who, yeah.
You're looking at the wrong people.
Now,
there's a relationship between adrenaline and intelligence, I find.
Yes, that is also true.
Yeah, and when you get up to 8,000 riders, I mean, as Marlene points out, it's not a race. It's an opportunity for people aspirationally to push a little farther than maybe they might, and it's also a way for us to show a lot of support to the communities along the way. There are a lot of small community nonprofits that really benefit from Cascade coming through by lemonade stands, selling food, helping us with lodgings and reservations along the way, filling a lot of hotel rooms. And when you have an 8,000 person event, it's sort of a moving circus, right? And there's so much coordination and so many moving parts. And Marlene and Leo are great examples of how much Cascade relies on an active and large volunteer core to really help us carry out a lot of our mission, from our events to our Learn to Ride education programs. So,
super cool.
And it's 206 miles. And maybe that's a bullet point that.
We should mention that.
Yeah, they need to know how long this is. Yes.
What is that in meters?
A lot.
I feel like we have international
It's what,
group.
320 kilometers around there?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, we do have international listeners to the podcast, and this would be such an amazing event for you guys. If you are traveling to the United States or something like this, how cool. The event is not massively hilly, but is very long.
Yeah.
And it is really well done and well supported.
The way it was described to me when I first did it was, it is not the quickest route between Seattle and Portland, but it is the flattest route between Seattle and Portland. There are a couple hills and a couple rollers, and you talked about the shenanigans, and those things pop out. But I think the one thing I experienced as a rider is really the community. The last time I did it, my wife and I were going to ride it together, and we've done it twice in a tandem, and we're going to do it a third time in a tandem.
Cool.
And she got injured, and I ended up riding it by myself. And I found a crew of I was probably in my late 30s. I found a crew of like 20-somethings who were doing it for the first time. And so I got to be the wise old guy on the ride because I had done it enough times to tell them when the hills were coming. And on the flats, we'd stick together, and on the downhills, we'd stick together, and the uphills, they'd wait for me at the top. And it was a great little community we had put together. And I thought it was just my experience. And then the next April, because we had started a text chain, I got a text. Someone in that group said, "Hey, are we doing the ride again?" And it made some nice, unfortunately, life and parenthood didn't let me ride it that year. But it was that type of spirit of people finding a community to do this adventure with, who we had nothing in common with except for we were set out to ride 206 miles over 2 days. You're always going to find a friend.
Do you find that every year is a little bit different? Like you find that group of people and there's that bonding experience? Because 206 miles, it's like this massive undertaking. It's enough time where you kind of form those cliques. I mean, I noticed it when I did the SEP. I had these like couple people, and like I still follow them on Strava, and it's just like that little group that you had. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of magical how that challenging of an event kind of brings that group together. And my question would be like, is it different every year? Do you get into a different clique each year, or...
That's been my experience. The person I think about the most, and I can pass this over to Marlene or Leo, is actually my first STP when I think it was 2002, 2003, and I with my first time doing this big ride, finally was a point in life where I could do it. And there's a rest stop every 8 to 15 miles on the STP, and about 30 miles in, I realized I'd passed this this lady. She's probably in her 60s or 70s after each rest stop. And she's probably riding 10 or 11 miles an hour. And it was not very fast, but she was just steady going. And then, I'd stop at a rest stop, and she'd just ride on past and keep on going. Then I'd pass her again, and I must have passed her a half a dozen times that day. And then you sleep, you wake up on Sunday, and same thing happened. She must have started ahead of me,
Cool.
and
Yeah.
I think I passed her for the last time, probably 3 or 4 miles outside from the finish line, and waited for her to cross. But she was kind of my inspiration because she clearly had just, this was not her first ride, and she had a plan, and she was not the fastest, but she was consistent. And I'm sure she doesn't remember me, but I remember thinking, about mile 80 on day 2, and I see her ahead of me. I'm like, if she's still going, I can make it.
Like, how would you guys talk to people that maybe aren't familiar with STP? Maybe they're from a different part of the country or something like that. It's not a race. That being said, a lot of the people that do listen to our podcast would really, I think, be very interested in an experience like this, a 200-mile journey, through
206.
206.
Don't leave that
Don't
6.
cut off that 6. But through like the beautiful Pacific Northwest. So, my question for you guys is like, what can they do? What's the next step that they can do? Like, where can they go to read more about the information about the club and the event itself? And, like, what's the best location for those guys to kind of just learn about it?
Well, you can learn about the ride on our Cascade's website, cascade.org. Okay. And the STP is not a race, but it's whatever ride you want to make it be. Mm-hmm. So there are folks who start at 5 in the morning and commit to do it in one day and ride all 206 miles in one day. And if you decide to do that, you will not be alone. And most of those folks are good, accomplished riders, and this is maybe their first time doing a double century without the pressure of a race, or just maybe doing some training for them. And there are folks who tow their 3-year-old in a burly trailer.
See, that's so
and ride
cool.
the whole way, and they start late in the day.
Yeah, and I witnessed this ride once, and I saw people, and it was just like families on bikes, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I think the following year I did it, and I was just like one of those people that you described, like got up early, went hard for 10 hours, and did it in one day. And I think the thing that I want to do next is like, I want to do it in 2 days and just like, I want to experience it, because I think when you go hard, it's cool, like great, whatever. But I think when you enjoy it, you get more of those moments. You get more time out there. Just like we talked about before, where it was like those bonding experiences with a group of people, you get more opportunities for that. And I also think the rest stops are pretty cool too.
Yep.
So
yeah, I'm taking a lot of airtime here. It's also a rolling bike museum.
Yeah,
and that you
true.
will see
Cool
every type of bike that you can imagine. And almost every age of bike you can imagine. Some people take great pride in riding it in vintage bikes.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll pass it over to Marlene or Leo to talk about their experience or how they approach the STP as a participant.
I want to jump off what you said about 1 day versus 2 day, because I have done both.
Yeah.
And it is, the 2 day really does give you more of an opportunity to experience it as a rolling party. So you don't have to rush out of the rest stops. You can stay and talk to people. Those people that you leapfrog a whole day, you can exchange names and find out who they are. You meet great people. Actually do, like, STP is kind of a destination ride. There are people from all over North America who come to the ride, so you're meeting people from different places. You talk about what are bike clubs like where you are, and what kind of rides do you do. There's so much, meeting people and talking to people. So that's, for me to do it in 1 day, I started actually at 4:30 in the morning, both times that I did it in 1 day. I had to be very disciplined about, not lingering at the rest stops, just getting what I needed and getting out. When I did it just myself, as a 1 day, I finished right before 9 o'clock, which is the official end time of the closing of the. Now, people finish later than 9 o'clock, but the official finish line on day 1 is 9 o'clock. I finished right before 9 o'clock, and I remember I was holding my little patch in my hand, and it got dark. It's dark. So I started in the dark, and then it was dark. Yeah. It definitely, if you do it in 1 day, once you pass the midpoint, it really thins out. So you're no longer in a big crowd. You're not lonely. Like, there's still other riders on the road. It's still really well supported as a one-day rider. There, the rest stops are open, but it's a different experience doing it as a one-day. So anybody out there listening, you should try it both ways.
Do it. Yeah, exactly. Do
yeah.
both. Try both. Yes.
I think I'm kind of with
Like
Matt.
you said-
Might need to try that out in 2 days one of these years.
Yeah, I want to try it with 2 days. I want to just really enjoy it and just take my time and try every cookie at every rest stop along the way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's not a race at all. It's
Yeah.
the 2 day. I've done one day ride. I did it in 10 hours and 40 minutes and couldn't
Wow.
walk the next day. But I was only 37 at the time. I'm a little bit older now. But what's so much fun about STP is, like Marlene says, it is a rolling party. People create teams. One team had naked Barbie dolls strapped to the top of their helmets, and they were Team Naked Barbie. I saw a group with a bunch of Archie McPhee rubber goods and novelty supply store in Seattle. They had got strap-on rubber buttocks to wear over the back of their short, and they were Team Naked Ass. And coming up on them from the back, trust me, you didn't want to draft it first until you figured it out. But I've seen people dress up like cowboys with horse heads done in paper mache on the front of their bike. Who did it on,
And there's always
on
the
skates.
unicycle
She did
guy.
it on inlines.
Unicycle.
She was the first person to do it. That was in 93, I believe. And she was doing a one-day ride of it. In Centralia, her crew was changing the wheels in her skates because she'd worn them down to nubs.
Oh,
Wow.
It had to be pretty crazy. But a lot of longboarders will do this too.
Yeah. So
It is absolutely a party. It's something to see. You've got to do it.
wow. So
I'll add one more
I think we just
reason
lost it.
is STP is back in 2022.
Yep.
Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we had to cancel it the past 2 years. And so in some respects, this is going to be one of the most special and fun STPs ever. It's an event that the only other time it was canceled prior to the pandemic was after the explosion of Mount St. Helens, which required a reroute up to, we went north to the other Vancouver. Maybe you've heard of that, Vancouver.
Heard of it.
But otherwise it's been an annual event with, I think, at its largest was up to 10,000 participants. We cap it now at 8,000. A modest 8,000 just to keep it to a controllable size. But it really is a fun event for no matter your skill level. And Cascade, through our free group rides programs and our Cascade training series, we have assets on cascade.org where folks can design training programs.
So for those that are playing along here at home, we lost Leo. He dropped back in, and now all of our graphics are a little off. So don't mind me. I'm going to fix that when we continue talking. No, it's not a problem.
We can fix it as we go.
Paul, what are you guys doing about, what kind of COVID rules are you having then for this year, being that you haven't done it for the last couple of years?
Yeah, all our events, proof of vaccination and masked up when waiting in line.
Okay.
Those are the procedures we have thus far.
Yeah, I can jump, Paul. We're in King County, Washington, which has taken a pretty focused effort to ensuring COVID protocols. So we point to the King County Public Health guidelines, and so vaccination or the test actually, if 3 days before. And then mask up at the rest stops. We've gotten really good over the last 6-7 months when we reopened rides on having COVID safe protocols in the rides. The thing we'll definitely do is, if we've learned one thing in this pandemic, it's that the guidelines change, and so as King County changes their guidelines, we'll go along with what they recommend.
I have this gut feeling that it's going to be this massive explosion on the website and event sign up. And I just think people are going to be so amped up because you guys have been, closed out for 2 years, that this is just going to be a very, very busy kickoff to the STP sign up stuff going on. And sign up is you said February 8th? Is that correct?
General public sign up is February 8th, but if you're
February
worried about it selling out, you can become a Cascade member
There
and
you
you can
go.
register now.
Words to the wise. Words to the wise.
Yeah.
So, real quick, what is involved with becoming a Cascade member? I think this is the appropriate time to talk
Sure.
about that. That you guys could use a little bit of help getting to that 10K bump.
Yeah, you basically you go on the website and you determine whether you're a family member or an individual, and you pay $45, and it gets you some discounts on Cascade events. But more importantly, it supports Cascade's work to make Washington State a bicycle-friendly state. So it supports our advocacy work and our education work and our community service work that Paul talked about earlier in the podcast around partnering with food banks to deliver food to people who need a little help, particularly during the pandemic, or providing our Build a Bike program for young folks who maybe his family can't afford for them to build a bike. And so
Great.
we buy a bike from them. We help them build bikes.
That's really cool. And it's $45 per year.
Yes.
That sounds very reasonable to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much good stuff that's done out of
Yep.
that. And then again, one more time, when is the actual 2-day event and the 1-day event? When do those fall on?
July 16 and 17.
July
Or
16th. So if you're going to do it 2 days, you're going to be riding on the 16th and 17th of July. If the 1-dayers are going to do it, you're going to do it on the 16th of July. And what time does the event kick off? Is it a 5 a.m. start, but like you guys kind of start a little bit before that?
I feel like there's a
Yeah, we stagger the starts. So the 1-dayers come in. I do believe at 4:30 is I think the earliest you can start.
Gotcha.
And then the 2-dayers we try to have not start before 6:30.
6.
Or 6. Again, I'm a new guy. I can get some things wrong. I never started it early. And the way it works is basically about every 5 minutes or so we let a group go, and and then it's a big party. The kickoff. There's music playing. There's a engaging MC. In fact, what are you guys doing at 4:30 in the morning on a?
Yeah.
And people roll out, and it's really a community celebration along the route. We talked a little about the rest stops. I particularly look forward. There's a Puyallup rest stop. It's just about 45 miles in, and the Boy Scout troop there sells cookies.
Yep.
And some banana bread, and it is a high point of the day. People find their different rest stops along the way they like to do. And we feed people lunch, and some of the best beverages you'll find are at mile 107 at the end of day one. Particularly
Is that because you've done 107 miles, or because the beverages are absolutely amazing?
You're going to have to ride it to find out.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the thing
I
about
would make
riding.
a
All the
recommend-
food tastes good.
Yep, that's so true.
I would
Yes,
make
yes.
a rec-
Go ahead, Leo.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Leo.
I was going to say that there's a brewery in Centralia, a guy named Dick's Beer. Probably the best tasting beer you're ever going to taste.
Oh my gosh.
Of course, 100 and some miles on your butt, yeah, the beer's going to be just great as an anesthetic if nothing else.
Yes.
Yeah. So Leo and I volunteer on the route, and we have a fun volunteer job because we're riding. So that to me is considered the most fun. But Cascade, 8,000 people on the road is a lot of moving parts, and a lot of those people are volunteers, and I'd say their jobs are not as fun. Some of them are driving the trucks with the baggage. But that's one of the things you get is that the reason you can't start before 4:30, or the reason I never started earlier than that, is that to get your bag on the bus to your destination, and if I'm starting at 4:30, that's Portland. The volunteers are out there. They're starting in the middle of the night to get this great experience for you, where your bag is going to be there in Portland and handed to you by a friendly volunteer after you've done your 206 miles of riding. So there are, in addition to all the rest stops and the support and the sag wagons, there is a baggage service. People who camp in Centralia can have their stuff brought on the trucks to Centralia, so they're camping out at the college out there in Centralia. So there are, it's a massive undertaking, and Cascade has done it 40 times and gotten better every year. So that's part of the reason this is a ride that everybody, if you're listening, you should come do it. Come join us.
Yeah.
Well,
And just
we
hypothetically speaking, if you say got a flat a few miles in and forgot to pack a tube, a nice person on a motorcycle will happily drop one off and have an air compressor. Just hypothetically, that might have happened once.
Once or twice.
To you?
Yeah, Outriders also carry spare tubes just for that reason.
Gotcha.
We also, how much money do we spend? I think because we actually clean the roads for you. Highway 30 gets swept right before the event.
Wow.
Highway 30 down in Oregon, and that's 50 miles, and I can't remember. I want to say $10,000. Is that right? What Cascade cost to sweep that road? Some insane amount.
I probably should know. That, but I know I never got a flat on that road. I was definitely.
Which that road is usually a mess.
Exactly. I mean, it has a nickname down here called the Dirty 30 because
Yes.
all the other times of the year when you
Yes.
guys haven't come in and cleaned it, it's bad.
And so
Highway
all
30
the
is kind of
cyclists-
Highway 30 is kind of the purgatory of STP, but once
Well,
you're
I
through with
wouldn't
it, it's
describe it.
absolute heaven.
At the St. John's
If you
Bridge.
do it in one day, there's an afternoon tailwind usually. So for you one-day riders, you get, if you're lucky, you get pushed right up Highway 30.
Hey Matt, I
recall one year it was approaching 100 degrees and we had a headwind for Highway 30.
Oh.
So I was making power for 20 and doing about 12 and drinking 4 water bottles every 20 miles plus hooking down cans of it's not Snap V8 juice because it's really high in sodium and it'll keep you from bonking out so bad. But people's clothing turns white. It's just amazing.
A giant salt lick.
Yeah.
The good news is weather's usually the weather's usually good the time of year that you guys do this event. So, if people are listening to this from, let's say, Alabama, come take a break. Come take a break from the weather. Even if it's hot, it's not going to be hot and humid typically. So, the weather is usually pretty decent.
Well, we changed the event date up until, was it 1997? We would do the ride in June. We were aiming for the solstice to get it to the longest sun time. But in 1997, we had a front come in off the Pacific Ocean. These are sometimes called Pineapple Expresses. Mm-hmm. And we had 2 days of solid, continuous rain with about a 20 to 25 mile an hour headwind the entire way.
Ouch.
That was the last year I rode as medical, but I rode, the only fender bike I had was my fixed gear. So I rode a fixed gear for 206 miles.
Oh, wow.
Which was kind of...
We're trying to sell the fun part of this.
It's going to be a good time, or it's going to be a good story.
The thing about STP is people tell you it's a really easy ride. It's flat. Well, STP can be a monster, and you must be prepared. But trust me, they used to build this ride as the best ride in the galaxy, and that's pretty close, I assume. It's just a great ride to do.
Yeah, my favorite ride, I rode it with my wife on a tandem, and we had another couple on a tandem, and it's fun to ride up with the fast guys, probably like Matt and Jake, because the tandem we could keep up with there, and our friends. We get to the finish line, and then they let us know that that she was 3 months pregnant.
Oh wow!
And she had, it was a good time, and like you can do all skill ability, and that was a warm one. It was 85 degrees those 2 days. But if you're not from the Pacific Northwest, I will put the Pacific Northwest up against any part of the country in July. It's difficult to beat.
100% a
good time to visit. For sure.
Now you guys have billed this as not a race. Let me ask you a quick question. Are we still doing the chip timing? Is that still an option?
No.
Oh, you guys removed that.
No, I can't remember a time where we did chip timing.
There was a chip timing
There
thing.
was, but we did it for a couple years.
2015
But
and
what the
2016.
heck? You have your little devices. You can you can do it. Time yourself.
No one has bike computers around here.
I'm sure
everybody has their devices.
I'm sure it's a Strava segment.
Yeah.
Oh, that is.
You guys had the chip timing system the 2 times that I did it, in 2015 and 2016, and it's still like 2016. It still kind of bugs me a little bit. We had a group of us, and there were some buddies of mine that came up there and did it together. And we wanted to put in a good time, and we wanted to be the first ones to make it into Portland. So we got there, we did our thing.
We were trying to break 9 hours, I believe.
Well, 9 and a half.
Oh, wow.
9.5, yeah.
So the whole premise was like, all right, let's do this right, and we're gonna treat this not like a race, but we're gonna time trial it. We're gonna go fast. And one of my buddies that was in the group, started, I don't know, he was maybe 5 or 6 or 8 people deep, and so his chip timing thing went off like after mine did, because I rolled through first and activated the chip time, and then he rolled through, and then we were all riding down all the way together. And I made it a point to get to the front of the group and kind of worked a little bit harder to get to the front of the group and finished I think 2 seconds or 3 seconds ahead of
Justin
him.
Wagner?
Well, Wagner was there.
It was Greg.
It was Greg Steele, and his time just so happened to be a second and a half faster than mine. So he was billed as the fastest rider for the entire event. And I was in second place, even though I was the first one to finish, though. But we did get our 9.5 hour time, which was
funny.
What's your average speed on that? That's got to be
21 and a half.
Yeah.
I tried to go with you guys and got dropped immediately.
The funny thing was when we hit the finish line, it wasn't set up yet.
Well, yeah, my wife.
We beat the finish line set up.
My wife was running SAG support for us for that year, and she was leapfrogging all the way down. And she knew exactly where we were at, and she left us at St. John's Bridge. That was when we had the last bottle handoff, and then she went ahead and zipped on up to the finish line. Got out the car, ran over there, like, hey, they're about 3 or 4 miles out, maybe even closer than that. She was like looking at me or like texting me or something. I don't know what it was, but she's trying to let the people know at the finish line. They're like, oh no, there's no way that they're here. No, she's like, I promise they're coming. And we came in, and sure enough, they're like, oh wow, I guess you were here. So, but yeah, I think we rolled in at like 3:30, and they weren't quite ready for us yet. But it's all good. It was fun.
You can be an idiot like us who tries to, average 25 miles an hour on all the flat stuff. So
the smarter way is to make it fun.
Is to make it the 2-day party.
But again, for me,
I'm trying to think of.
Go ahead.
Trying to think of who holds the record, and I believe it was a guy named Peter Penenskis who did it on a recumbent.
Wow.
He also holds some right across America titles as well, but he stopped for every stop site, and I think he made it in a little over 7 hours. It was under 8 hours.
Oh my goodness!
Oh wow!
But the guy was just flying.
It's interesting. Like I always think about this. Like recumbent bikes make a lot of sense. They go very fast. They're very aerodynamic, so you can do less effort to commute or whatever it is. All of us ride, normal bikes. We don't. I mean, most of us don't ride recumbent bikes. So it's just interesting, but we'll see. Maybe that'll change in the future.
I own a recumbent.
Do you? Yeah, they make a lot of sense.
I say that I think
I will ride. I'll ride STP on my upright.
Oh yeah.
I really don't want to do it on my recumbent.
For safety.
Although some people can do. Pardon me? No, not safety.
Just because you prefer it?
Are you familiar with a term called recumbent butt?
Oh no. I don't know the term, but my mind is wandering.
Fill in the context.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Okay.
Lee, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, there's, I've noticed my bike evolution. I think, I'm probably 4 or 5 years away from a recumbent. Like, you get your starter bike, and then you get a mountain bike, and you get with the bike trailer, and then we get the tandem. I'm about to upgrade my upright bike, and I just see the recumbent coming down the road towards me eventually.
Yeah.
Very good. Any other good stories from you guys? I love hearing the stories, and I really think that's what gets people excited about this event.
I'll talk a little bit about community piece and how it's for all. We talked about the fastest rider here. My aunt, she has an autoimmune disease, and she, had set a goal in the mid 2000s to ride the STP. And my uncle is an avid bike rider, and it's kind of the other end of the story you just told. So they did 2 days, and my aunt is not a fast bike rider. She's going to ride 11 miles an hour, coming or going, and it was late. It was like 8 o'clock at night as she was coming into Portland, and they were tearing things down. And my uncle went and rode up ahead of her to the finish line and said, "Hey, there's one more person coming in," and there was one SAG person riding behind her, basically, and rode her in, and they kept the finish line open and did all the big fanfare.
That's awesome.
For this woman in her 50s who was riding the STP and got to finish with the same celebration as anyone who'd finished earlier. So
That's
there
awesome.
is this community environment that is part of the Cascade culture. That is something you got to experience.
That is absolutely true. It has taken me, my record has been 16 hours to go from Seattle to Centralia, 100 miles. That's riding as an outrider because of all the people we've had to stop for. People are still riding at 7:30 at night. And that's the amazing thing, because that's that person who's never ridden more than 30 miles in their life, and suddenly they're doing this, and it changes people. It changes who you think you are when you realize, I can do this, I'm strong, I'm powerful, and it's a good thing to have happen to you.
Yes, that is, we have a program at Cascade called the Major Sailor Bike Club, which is a program that targets students of color in economically challenged schools. And, through the year, they did their after-school club, they do their Build-A-Bike. In the spring, we transitioned to the STP training. And it really is, it's about riding bikes, but it's also about goal setting and mentorship. And they have their jerseys, and we do a big fanfare announcement for them as they take off. And when you're riding, it's really inspiring to see a bunch of young folks out who've set a goal. And there's different groups. They have their fast group that gets gets going fast, and they have folks that this is going to be, they're going to tell this story to the grandkids at the time they rode from Seattle to Portland. But it is really, it's learning how to basically set a goal and then work towards achieving that goal and then achieving that goal, and they're really inspiring on the ride.
Gotcha. Another quick question for you guys. During the pandemic, I'm sure you guys have kind of seen numbers kind of go up and down and all around. It seems like, and I've heard this consistently with a lot of other organizations as well, that your volunteers may have, not that they're not volunteering, but maybe have just kind of fallen off the radar. Are you guys dealing with issues with getting volunteers out there? Are you guys needing to regrow your group of volunteers for helping the event be a successful event?
Marlene, you want to talk about that?
Well, I'll tell you how what I'm most familiar with is the free group ride program, which is another thing that when you join Cascade, you're supporting. You do not need to be a member of Cascade to come with us on a free group ride. You just need to register and sign our waiver, and then you come, and we're sharing, the joy of cycling with you. But that's one of the things the membership represents. In March of 2020, we suspended the whole free group ride program. This is a program that has rides on every single day of the year at different paces in different places all over the state. We suspended the whole program. It took us a while to figure out how do we do this safely. We didn't come back till summer. And we basically, so we train our ride leaders. But we basically told our ride leaders, if you're not comfortable coming back and leading rides, and our rides are open to everybody from the public can show up. We said, we're not gonna, you're gonna stay in our membership as a free group ride leader. Just we're gonna respect that you're gonna do what you're comfortable with. And we are starting, you get rusty. You lead free group rides. You're used to doing it. If you do a couple of months, you do one a week, you're used to dealing with the public and teaching people what you want to teach them on a free group ride. People do get rusty. So we are now working to get everybody, our ride leaders, back into the fold. We did not mention CTS yet, which is Cascade Training Series, which is a progressive series that most of the rides are start in the Seattle area. They go all over the place. They do different pace groups. They're a way that a lot of people train for STP if they're in the Seattle area. I help out with a parallel series that's called Cycling Out of Sumner, because I'm in Gig Harbor, which is south of Seattle. So we meet in Sumner. We're doing a progressive series. So we're trying to get everybody back. Now, I'm guessing that all those other people, so Cascade has a lot of volunteers who help out. Oh, lost somebody. who help out in ways that are don't involve riding a bike. They involve, bringing the baggage to Portland and being at the registration desk and stuffing envelopes. Cascade has paid employees, but they also rely on an incredible force of volunteers. And I think we're going to similar things about bringing all those people back into the fold.
That's
and I think,
good.
I think the only area I talk about volunteers, and I know we're here to talk about STP, but STP supports a lot of other programs. And the area where volunteers did grow during the pandemic was a program we call Pedaling Relief Project, which, the beginning of the pandemic, food banks couldn't have people come in to collect food, and we had a lot of people with a lot of need. And one of our Cascade employees, actually while he was furloughed, started this program, which we then were able to continue, where we partner with 4 food banks in Seattle, and every week we have about 150 volunteers who show up at these food banks on their bikes and sign up for a number of bags, and then go drop those off at people's door who are homebound because of the pandemic or because of health issues, so they can't get to the food bank to get their food. And so it's a different, you're gonna be riding your bike Saturday morning. This is the way to ride your bike Saturday morning and give back. And so we've had where we lost some volunteers on the free group ride space, and we're trying to rekindle our ride support volunteers. We have this whole new body of volunteers that we wouldn't otherwise have, but for our experience through the pandemic.
Gotcha. That's great. Now, since the pandemic, another little topic here, there's been a massive boom. I'm sure this is across the country, and you guys are no different than we are down here, of people that are new to bike riding and have purchased a bike, and there's bike shortages everywhere. Have you guys noticed an uptick in membership because of that, or do you think right now is like the prime time where we need to start getting this information out to those folks who have since taken up a bike and now they need some sort of affiliation so they can look at all of the cool different ways that they can engage with the cycling community?
Once we announced the ride season in December, we saw an uptick in membership, but we're definitely looking to engage folks because they bought that bike because it was the thing you could do.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm still waiting on my new bike. Hopefully it'll come here in the next couple months. So it's we have 14 different events throughout the year, STP being kind of the marquee one, and so we saw folks who were at our events last fall. It was their first time doing a Cascade event, and they were excited to, try for a bigger, longer event. But it's we're hoping we see a few of those folks decide to take this challenge on.
Gotcha. So if somebody wanted to learn more about you, they can go to Cascade. Is it just cascade.org?
Yeah. Cascade.org.
Gotcha. And then I'm sure you guys have like a Facebook group and Instagram and a Strava club and all that other fun stuff.
We're Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Paul, are we on Strava?
Friend me, follow me, like me.
Yes.
Everywhere online.
And we have and then there's Facebook groups for STP and for our free group rides separately, so you can find those on our website too.
Excellent. That's
yeah.
Jake, you make a great point about all these people who got their bikes, because we want them to keep riding. This is where we make that habit sticky, right? Where you keep having fun doing it, and you keep learning, and you keep getting better, and you don't put that, you're not going to let that bike gather cobwebs in your garage.
Yeah, we don't want them to turn into a bunch of garage ornaments. They need to be out there actually being ridden. So, Paul, what were you going to say?
Well, Lee mentioned all these other events in addition to STP. So even coming up the end of February, we have our Chili Hilly. It's on Bainbridge Island. This is a long-time Cascade ride, which just kind of kicks off the ride season for us. And it's a real beautiful scenic trip. For folks who are not familiar with the Seattle area, we have all these large islands right off of Puget Sound across from Seattle, and Bainbridge Island being a beautiful example of that. So it's Chili Hilly is a great ride to sign up for as just a opening, a season opener. We've got our Seattle Bike Swap is back. This was a long time event, which was sort of like a traditional bike swap, but where there are a lot of vendors selling bikes. Great chance to pick up a bargain on a used bike or consign that bike that's sitting in the garage to our Major Taylor Project booth. So on Cascade.org, you can click on the events and rides tab, and you can find out about our major events, free group rides, and all the other things we do.
All the things that you guys do.
It's pretty amazing.
Put a big smile on my face. This is awesome. I mean, can you guys come down to like the Vancouver area and do a few things down here just for selfish reasons?
Happy to talk about that.
Yeah, I'll be up in your neck of the woods, Marlene. My mom and my sister live in Gig Harbor, so I come up there a couple times a year, at least try to, when there's not pandemics going on.
Occasionally, you bring your bike.
Not occasionally. Every single time my bike comes with me. Even when we used to live in a different state, it still came with me, and I quite do enjoy riding around the Gig Harbor area. So.
Awesome. Well, so if you go to the Gig Harbor tourist site, there's a blog about biking in Gig Harbor.
Sure.
And it links to all my routes.
Oh.
So I've got about 10 ride with GPS routes, Marlene's recommended Gig Harbor routes.
Oh, look at that.
Check that out when you come.
Love it. Paul, are we missing anything? Is there something that we have not brushed over that you're chomping at the bit to talk about?
I think we've covered it. Maybe Lee can fill in. I guess I would like to leave folks who are interested in STP to know that when you sign up and pay your registration fee, that your funds go to support so many great community projects, like the Major Taylor Project, like our food bank deliveries, and on, our Learn to Ride programs and our Build a Bike programs. And so it's money that allows you to enter a great event, but also supports so much good work, making Washington and the Puget Sound region one of the best places to ride a bike.
Love it. Gotcha.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Paul. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this part of it up. And I don't know if we talked about this in the pre-show, but we do what we call one last thing. So you get to say one last thing, whatever you want. It could be about anything. It doesn't matter. It could be about the conversation we just had, or anything that's just front around in the front of your mind. So I'm going to start with the guy across the table from me right now, Lance Hepler.
When are you guys gonna announce your gravel route from Seattle to Portland?
Seattle to Portland.
You'd probably have like 30,000 feet of climbing if you did it all gravel. No, I'm just kidding. I don't.
Although you would do it if it,
I would. I might do it. If
might
there
have
was
to do
a
it 2
cover.
days though.
Yeah.
Do you have no one last thing for you? Go ahead, Lee.
Oh, sorry. My one last thing is I just want to thank Marlene and Leo. We've talked about the volunteers here with Cascade. We have 10,000 members. It is a club, and there are folks who really lean in, and we could not do any of the work we've talked about without volunteers like Marlene and Leo and their compatriots. And in my short time here, my 4 months, one thing I've learned is when someone says they've been doing something for 20 or 30 years, they got some great stories and some lessons to be found in those stories. So I always make time to chat with our longtime members. So,
love it.
Thank you, too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us to this, too.
Oh, yeah. Leo, do you have one last thing for us?
Well, other than getting cut off, but it's kind of a question here is why has Cascade succeeded where other big cities such as Portland don't have the huge bike club? What made Seattle and what made Cascade so special for all this to happen?
That's a really good question.
I think that's a great question.
We do have the
Why don't we have this anywhere else?
Yeah. There's the Vancouver Bicycle Club down here is quite large, but they're literally 10% of what you are. They're about 950 people strong.
Yep.
They're well run and they're well organized, and they put on a ride.
It's a nice group.
Yeah, it's a nice group. They do one big ride a year, and then they have a lot of ride volunteers. I mean,
There's
do
one event a year,
Yeah.
but there's like training rides and ride groups, but it's nothing as big as
No,
Cascade.
it's not. So you guys have some sort of secret sauce
Yep.
going on there
Yeah.
that you need to really boil down what that is and maybe share that.
It's probably the volunteers like you two
Yeah.
that really make a big difference. So,
That would make an interesting subject is how did this happen?
Well,
what did
maybe
we do so right?
Maybe it's maybe Seattle is like 8 million people. That could be part of it.
Part of it, small part.
Well, I mean, it's not
Portland. Portland's 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Well, we did start out small. In 1989, we only had 5,000. STP, which was absolutely amazing at the time. And I think we've had a high of over 10,000 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that
Right.
could be a
It's
whole nother podcast right there.
We've had 50 years to work on this, and so Cascade has been
Eventually
around.
you get it right.
Yeah. Oh, and I have one last thing. I think Matt was asking about gravel. So I would urge you guys and all your listeners who are interested in gravel and bikepacking to check out the Palouse to Cascades Trail. This is the rail trail that runs basically from outside of Seattle all the way to the Idaho border.
I've done sections of it. I've already ridden sections of it. And I think I saw on Ride with GPS, somebody just put out a route for the Chili Hilly that included a whole bunch of gravel sections as well. So that you could do the Chili Hilly on a gravel bike. It does take in a bunch of hiking trails that you'd be riding your gravel bike on, but
could be interesting.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that might be the unofficial route.
Yeah, sorry. I scratched that, whatever I just said.
Forget about whatever I did. Dang it, Hepler. Marlene, do you have one last thing for us?
Well, I want to go back to Chili Hilly since it's coming up and you brought it up. Now, you guys seem pretty hardcore, so you're invited. So Chili Hilly might not be enough of a challenge for you. I was told that when Chili Hilly started, they used to do it 3 times and do it as a century. Oh, wow. That would be a super hilly century. So I will challenge you. Get on that ferry, meet us in Bainbridge, and, wave to me on your pass me on your second loop. And, and perhaps I'll still be having a margarita or beer when you finish. You can come catch me there.
So just out of curiosity, how many feet of elevation gain is there on the Chili Hilly 30? Is it 30 miles? Ish.
It's 33 miles, and oh boy, do you know what I have?
27,000.
I'm sure that I have it written down somewhere. Yeah,
27,500. I think it's 27,500. I could be wrong, but it's right about.
You might have just made that up, but it sounds about right.
100. Excuse me, 100.
2,700.
I was like, holy crap! People are doing a century out of that.
No,
I might need the grinding for that.
yeah, 2,700. Yeah.
Still, that's a solid. If you do it 3 times, it's gonna be some good elevation there.
The official route is too. It's 2,100.
2,100.
Oh,
excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good.
Yeah, and it's beautiful and it's fun.
Right on.
Cool. Very cool.
And it's hilly.
Chili Hilly.
Chili Hilly. Yep.
Matt, one last thing for you, bud.
I always have a video to, talk about. I post videos once a week to YouTube talking about triathlon type stuff. This past week I posted a video talking about a bike computer.
To Brighton.
It's got some of Jake's GoPro footage.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm glad that you were able to use that.
Actually, I've had multiple people comment on the video saying like, how did you do this shot? And I was like, you got to have a Jake. You have to have a Jake ride with you, and then he'll do some really cool stuff with cameras, and then you just throw it in your video, and that's how you get tons of subscribers.
Yeah, you sent me a screenshot of that yesterday. Put a big smile on my face.
Yeah, I mean, super cool that people are actually paying attention and following all the little camera things that we do, and then I think eventually I'll do the new Garmin watch, the Phoenix 7. The Epics.
The Epics on Wednesday that will be here.
So hopefully that's coming up sometime next week. I might sneak another video in between those 2 videos just so I'll have more time with that watch to test it.
Gotcha. So. And for our folks here, our friends from Cascade, you want to tell them what your YouTube channel URL is?
YouTube.com/M Legrand, or you can search for Matt Legrand. There's 2 Matt Legrands on YouTube. One of them is like this 20-year-old male singer who sings to girls on the beach, and then I'm the other one. So you can subscribe to both of those.
Okay.
Both of those guys on YouTube, but you'll be disappointed when you see my videos and I don't have my shirt off.
Matt's turning into quite the little tech YouTube guy, the tech reporter, interviewer. You do all the things tech related. Like, are you guys familiar with
sports tech stuff? Like
DC Rainmaker. Do you guys know who DC Rainmaker is? You guys know?
I talk a lot about bike computers and things like that.
Does a lot of the same things, but Matt is
fun stuff.
Very skilled and gifted with the video camera himself as well as the editing, and he makes some stuff that's just high quality, super professional looking stuff. So,
thank you.
Always love watching his videos. Good times. So. As for me, my one last thing, I don't have many one last things other than this was a lot of fun. I am really stoked on getting to know some of the people that make this huge monstrosity of a bike club move forward. I mean, it's such an awesome thing, and
It's amazing.
When we made that first initial contact, I'm like, oh, that'd be so fun to have them on the podcast and talk to them. And you guys have a secret sauce. I'm not kidding. Something about this that you guys have built something that's really cool. I get the emails all the time. I'm on your email list. Probably do need to re-up my membership. It's been a couple of years since I've had that. But it's really neat to see all the advocacy work that you guys do for cyclists, and we're huge into that. And we're always doing what we can to, make the roads safer, to get more people up to speed with what the laws are, and really just trying to promote cycling in general, get more people out on their bikes, and we're a tiny little drop in the bucket compared to what Cascade's doing, and I guess for that I just wanted to say thank you, and it was nice to get to meet all of you. So thank you.
All right. Look forward to seeing you on the road.
Yes, thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and call that a wrap for this week on the Dial Podcast. We do appreciate everybody listening and watching, because we will be using some of this on the YouTube. So catch you all next week, and until then, bye for now.